Hey everyone, Irene Lyon here. Welcome to this entire world of nervous system health, healing trauma, and all things neuroplasticity. First off, before I get into the topic today, I wanted to just give a quick reminder that coming up very soon in mid-February 2024, we will be opening up registration for SmartBody, SmartMind, also known as SBSM. This is my 12-week online curriculum that my team and I have been running for quite a while now. This will be our 15th 1-5 live session that we've done. And all I can say is this is the place online to really get a full apprenticeship of your nervous system, the education, practices, and also support from a world-class support team. My colleagues have been working with me within this realm for many, many years. And so all I can say is if you have been waiting to do SmartBody, SmartMind, maybe this is the time to do it. Early 2024. Of course, if you're an alum, you are welcome to come back free of charge and take in the lessons and the trainings and the Q&A calls and ask questions of our team. I really can't say enough how powerful this curriculum is for helping us adults restore self-regulation back to our nervous system. And on that topic, that leads me into the question that I wanted to answer today. These are some questions. Got a whole bunch of questions here, papers of questions that have been submitted over the months, and this one caught my eye, and I think it goes really well with the upcoming round of SBSM. It could be, we could say, this is one other reason why getting a regulated nervous system is important. So the person asks, could you talk about your spiritual development, so mine, how has it changed throughout your life, and then how does regulation impact, or how does regulation of the nervous system impact these, they call them subtle energies. I'm going to assume spiritual development, connection to maybe source, these sorts of things. So the first thing I'll say is I personally am not someone who has tried to find spiritual development. It's not something that was ever really top of mind for me, to be honest. Does not mean that I do not or didn't have some connection to something. However, it just was never top of mind. But what I will say is, as my system personally, as it has become more regulated and I've gotten out to functional freeze and I think really connected more and more to my work, I could say, or I might say, that I am having more of a connection. I prefer to say life force energy connection to myself, to others, to the world, my purpose, and what it is that we're all doing here. So I'll start with that. The other thing that I have heard, so this is just anecdotal evidence, but it's the stuff that I hear over and over and over again. And that is this: people will say, Irene, as I become more regulated, and of course, these are people that come through and do the work that I've created, which is this combination of a few different methodologies all into one. They have said, I feel more human. And the funny thing with that is we all technically know that we're human. So what does it mean when someone says, I feel more human? And I got this a lot. I think what it means is we're actually starting to feel what humanity is supposed to feel like when we're not living constantly in survival stress, which is where most humans live from and are in, and they die like that. Morbid sounding stuff, I know, but it's kind of the way it is. There are billions of people that have come before us who have lived and died never understanding or knowing what regulation of their nervous system feels like or what that is. So we're at this really interesting time in history where there's a big chunk of people on this planet whom are in deep, deep survival, and they don't have any idea that that's what it is. And then there's others whom are learning about this and are all on different levels, we could say, all at different increments of how deep they are into the work, how new they are in the work. But what has been seen in my students, and my peers and colleagues would verify this, is when we really get into our nervous system, when we really start to listen to our physiology, and by physiology I mean our viscera, our guts. We can listen and sense our heart rate, what our kidneys do, how our muscles contract and relax, how our brain is either going 100 miles a minute or is in a nice state of regulation and openness, and we would call it social engagement with the world. When we have this ability to sense this, and it isn't about controlling it, but be with it and shift it really at our will, we are in control of our system, which allows us to then have more space for what we might call deeper spiritual connection, more connection to source. So that's one thing. The other thing that I have found, and this is something new in my learning and understanding, a couple of years ago, I got introduced to the concept of circadian health. Some might call it quantum health, quantum biology. I've done 5 interviews, I believe, on this topic on my YouTube channel here. There's a playlist. Watch those, take some time to watch them. What I have found is, as I have combined this nervous system piece along with this other quantum circadian piece, it has just up-leveled, for me at least, my connection to the earth, my connection to the universe, my connection to the cycles of life. And something quite magical occurs when you have this regulation in your physiology, and you have this connection that is deeper than just orienting and knowing that there's a world around us, which is important. There is something that occurs when we get these two pieces together. I was a kid that grew up with Star Wars and the Force and Obi-Wan Kenobi's good energy and Darth Vader's not so good energy. But as we look at that story, there was trauma, there was hurt, there was destruction. And inevitably, at the end of these themes, these tales, as they say, we're all connected. There is a force that binds us, that binds the universe together. And when we get more in our regulation and we get more connected to this world around us, from my experience, and again, my students have said, this spirituality, maybe it's the faith, maybe it's just this force, this connection to life force and universal force, some might call it unity consciousness, whatever you want to call it, it just becomes more natural. And so that might be the final thing I'll say around this question of how has this changed for me? How does this change for people when they become more regulated? What I have found, again, what my students have said, is when they get these pieces on board and they are not living in survival stress and they are living within their physiology and they know how to move through it and work with it and not be in constant survival stress all the time, be engaged with others, with the world, this piece of spirituality just shows up without having to work on it or towards it. The pressure to get spiritual and to get meditating and to find all these things, it just it just becomes natural. And that to me is an indication that we are naturally meant to have these elements in us, this connection to the universe, to source, to life force, to whatever it might be, to spirituality. It's in us, it's written in us, but it does not come easily and it does not come spontaneously and with ease until we have this regulation on board. And to help it out a little bit, that circadian biology, quantum health piece, that can kind of push it in the right direction a little bit more. So I hope that has answered the question to the person who asked this question. Hopefully that's provided some insight to some of you who might have wondered that question as well. And it's another reason to get into this work. It's another reason to work with our biology. Again, who would have thunk working with our physiology and biology would make us more connected to source and the universe and to animals and the trees and the earth and the ocean and all these things, but it seems to be what occurs, and I think that's pretty cool. So thank you for listening and being here, and we will see you next time.